In this video, we are going to have a look at this problem. Print a spiral pattern of numbers. So, a number is given, any number, let's say n is given, and then you have to print a square shape of numbers, n square numbers you have to print, but they should be printed in a spiral pattern. And what is that spiral pattern? Let me show you by an example. So, when you pass 4, then your pattern should be something like this. Then you see that 16 numbers are printed, but they are printed in a spiral fashion, which means that you see starting from top left and then you start going towards right, 1 2 3 4, and then 5 6 7, then 8 9 10, and then 11 12 13, and then you go inside towards the spiral, so 13 14 15 16. Okay, in a similar manner you see that if it is 5, then it is going to be something like 25 numbers, which is like 11 12 13 14 15 16, then 17 18 19 20 21 22, and then 24 and 25. So you can see that this it is starting from the top left start, and in the clockwise direction you have to go inward spiral and fill in all the n square numbers. So that is the problem. Now a few side notes. The solution should be something like this, that all the 25 numbers should be in the grid of like n by n square. So it should be a square. That is the first requirement. This whole thing is a string. This whole thing is a string. Okay, this whole thing is a string, which means that if in JavaScript you have some template literal, then it is a string like this. Okay, so it is a string like this, but that string is square shaped. Okay, so you can understand it like that. That is fine. Now each row in that, a string has many new line characters, and each new line characters denotes a new row, and each row is basically a space separated set of values. And more importantly, you can also see that the numbers are padded accordingly. So for example, 25, the maximum number is 25, right? And it has two length, right? Two characters are needed, right? And that's why the padding, all the single letters are done, all the single letters are padded with 0, you can see. And let's say you only do till 3, then 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 8 9, till 9 only it will go, right? Then you can see that padding is not there. So whatever is the maximum number, in this case the maximum number is 9, which is a single digit, and that's why no padding is needed. In this case the maximum digit is 25, and that's why which is 2 digits, and that's why everything is in 2 digits, and wherever needed padded with 0. If you do something like 10, then 100 numbers will be printed, right? And the maximum one will be 100. You can see the 3 digits, right? And that's why all the numbers are padded with 3 width, and something which is 2 width, two width, that is padded with a single 0. Something which is 1 width like 3 or 1 2 3, something like that, that is padded with double zeros. But everything has to be has to be printed in 0 padded maximum numbers width, that format. Okay, so this is the requirement. This is the requirement, that provided a number, you have to print something like this. You have to print something like this, and if you are able to print something like this, then that is your solution. Okay, so now you can pause this video and start implementing your solution. Okay, so now let's start implementing the solution. Let's start with a smaller number. So let's say 4 is passed, and then 1 through 16 numbers are printed. But right now the solution is not implemented, so we have to implement that. Okay, so first of all we can see that we need sort of a two-dimensional array. Okay, which means that if n is like 4, then 4 cross 4, like we need 4 arrays of each of length 4, so that will accommodate the 16 values which we want, right? For that, let's start having that. So let's say right now simply you can see that if I print, then just 4 is printed, because 4 is passed from here, nothing else. Okay, so let's see, we have an array, and that array is initially empty. Now what we want is that if let's say n is 4, then we want to have uh, have an array which is having 4 arrays each of length 4. Okay, something like this. So let's say in general for n you need to have you need to have n, so 0 to n minus 1. So basically n, this is like n arrays we have to create, right? So let's see something like this. So array dot push, right? And in this, so if you simply print, let's say something like hello, right, then basically it is just an array with four hellos, right? Let's print that it is an array with 4 hellos, but I don't want 4 hellos, I want 4 arrays each of length 4, which means that I can do something like this: new array and that of length n. So now you see that basically this is an array of arrays where each internal array is another array of length 4. Okay, so this is an empty array, nothing is there, but we will start filling the values inside it, that is fine. Next, so firstly, if you want to simply visualize rather than simply printing array, let's start slightly better function so that we can at least visualize it. So what we will do is that simply rather than simply printing array, we can have slightly better visualization where I will have from I is equal to, so basically all the elements from 0 to n. Okay, from 0 to n elements, and that ARR is already defined. So ARR I, that is basically an array. So rather than printing the whole ARR, let's print this ARR I. Let's remove this. So this will have slightly better visualization, something like this. Okay, so this is now looking like square shape. So if each one has 4 numbers, then 4 cross 4, it's looking like 16. We'll create the proper string which we want to return later, but right now just for visualization purpose, as we are filling the data, whether it is properly being filled or not, for that we are just printing it out here. Okay, now let's see the strategy, that how we are going to do that. Okay, so let's take the solution. So like other videos, I have a test case for here also. Okay, so we will use this test case later, but right now let's say for 4, what is the expectation? For 4, this is the expectation, right? For 4, this is the expectation, something like this. Okay, now how this thing is created? We have to create something like this. Now one strategy we can use is that, so if length of a side is n, let's say 4 in this case, then we can start going like this direction, and then this direction, and then this direction, and then this direction. But you can see that there is an overlap. If I go like this and then I go like this, then there is an overlap of this thing, right? So why not, let's print n minus 1 values rather than n values. So if the side length is n, which is 4 in this case, let's print n minus 1 values first rather than n values, which means that in this case we will print 3 values. So firstly we will print 1 to 3 like this. So in the right direction we are printing 1 to 3. Then we change the direction. Then from top to down again we print 3 elements. So 4, 5, 6. Now 4, 5, 6, this will be printed. Okay. Now after that, again towards the left, which we again print 3 elements, because n minus 1 elements, right? So 7, 8, 9 we again print. Again going forward towards the top, again we print 3 elements, so 10, 11, 12. So we see that 3, 3, 3 and 3, if you do like that, then outer this whole thing is done. Now we can start again from here, and then again we can go towards the spiral. Okay, so somehow we have to implement a logic such that we are just interested in switching the directions and manipulating I and j of like the indices, rather than doing it like too many times. So we just want to do it 4 times rather than 4 times, and again we go inside and then again manually do it. We want to have a generalized logic, so that the general logic for all the 4 sides is written, then automatically the spiraling is done. That somehow we have to implement. So again, this question can have a lot of different solutions, and you can come up with a different solution if your answer is coming correctly. Like for the test cases, if the answer is coming correctly, then it is fine, right? Whatever your implementation, that is fine. I'm just giving you one of the implementations. Okay, so yeah, so let's start. So what we are so let's keep this for reference. We might be needing it later, but let's start with the basic implementation, where what I'm going to do is that I have some I star and j initialized with 0. Okay, and then I have I have to take some direction. Okay, and what is the first value? So the you can see that the value 1 2 3 4 5 till 16 I'm printing here, right? So let's take that variable v is the value which has to be printed. The first value is 1, and then we'll increment it. V plus plus will do, but the first is v, and then 2, and then something. So this v variable is tracking what is the next value to print. Okay, next let's have a uh, symbol for tracking the direction, which means that direction is equal to 1. So direction can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. 1 means this direction from left to right, 2 means this direction from top to bottom, 3 means this direction left to, or sorry, right to left, and then 4 means bottom to top. So this is the these are the 4 directions. So right now with starting with 1, we are having direction 1, because right now we have to fill from left to right, so that is the direction 1. Okay, next let's also track that what is the count. Count means that what we are going to do is that we are going to have some sort of while loop, right? While loop, and we are going to maintain a count. We are going to maintain a count. So for example, earlier we saw that 3, once the 3 count is done, then we have to switch the direction. So 1 2 3, 3 numbers are printed, then we'll make direction 1 to direction 2. Okay, and then this thing will be direction 2, then 3 values will be again printed, and then direction will change. Direction will be 3, then 3 values will be printed, and then direction will be 4. And once it is done, then again direction will become 1, but now something has to change. This thing which we are saying is that 3, that thing has to change. Okay, so let's firstly write that. That 3 which I am saying is actually, let's call it limit. So limit is equal to n minus 1, which means that right now each side, as we are traversing, we have to print limit items, which is n minus 1 items. So in this case, if n is 4, then 3 items we have to print. So in each direction you have to print 3 items, right? So we will write the condition here later, but right now just I'm writing while true just for the sake of it. What I'm going to do is that I'm also going to have a variable which is count is equal to 0, right? And as soon as we enter, then we are going to print we are going to add one of the v's, one of the items, and that's why we will increment to count plus plus. But the idea is that as soon as this count is initially 0, then it becomes, first time it enters it becomes 1, then 2, then 3. As soon as it becomes limit is equal to limit, which means that now I have to change my direction, like from 1 direction to 2 direction, that I have to do, right? So let's start implementing it. Firstly, let's add that thing. So we are starting from I0 J0, right? Which means that we are already here. Which means that right away we can add in array arr I j, we can add v, whatever v is there. But that v value is basically added and incremented, so that next time when I run this statement, then it has become 2, next time it has become 3. So automatically first time 1 will be inserted in the array, and then v value will become true. So that is fine till now. Now let's see something like this, that right now if the direction is 1, then what we have to do, then you can see that I remains constant, the row remains constant, right? And the column j is increasing. So essentially what is happening is that arr I is another array, as we saw earlier. Arr I is another array. In that array, the second index, that thing is changing, right? So j is changing, and that's why I'm increasing j plus plus I'm doing, right? And I will keep on doing this, but the problem is that I cannot do this infinitely. As soon as so again, let's one time it is done, then again second time the while loop runs, then again like earlier it was 0 0, then 0 1, again it filled 2, then 0 2, again it filled 3 in that but as soon as my count is becoming 3, which means that count is becoming limit, which is n minus 1, then I have to change the direction, right? So what I'm going to do is that I am going to do let's say if count is equal to limit, then firstly I'm going to reset the count. Why I'm resetting the count? Because now from scratch I'm going to count that in this direction, count should be 1 2 3, because I'm now starting counting again for this direction. So I'm resetting the count, and again I'm changing the direction. So dir earlier it was 1, now the direction has changed, and now it has become 2. Okay, so firstly let's see that artificially let's give a break here. It is not needed, but just we will print and we will see that what is the progress till now. Yeah, so as expected 1 to 3 is printed, right? Now direction is changed. Now 4 5 6 we have to print, right, towards the right. Okay, okay. So in order to do that, let's copy this piece of code, and we will write else if dir is equal to 2. Now this break is not needed. And we will come back to this condition. But when the limit is reached, again count is set, and then dir becomes 3. Direction becomes 3. But in 2 direction, what is the logic of writing? So you can see that now my j is constant, but you can see that I has to increase. Okay, because I was earlier 0, then it has to go to the second row, it has to go to the third row, so I will become 1 2 like that. So instead of j plus plus, here I will do I plus plus. Okay, let's run this. Now you see that it is again 1 2 3 and then 4 5 6. We will repeat the same thing, else if for direction 3 this break is not needed. Now we will check this condition, and now count becomes 0, and direction becomes 4. Okay, now what should be the logic here? Now you can see that this in direction 3 I'm going from right to left. Right to left means basically j is decreasing, and that's why it should be j minus minus. Okay, and you can see that 5 6 4 5 6 7 8 9 it is printed, and then 10 11 12 we have to print, right? So for that, so when the direction is 4, we'll see the logic. But the direction will again become 1 because 4 and then again I have to go right, so direction will become 1. But for now let's just break it here. Let's just break it here. And what will the logic? The logic will be like I is now decreasing from bottom to top we are going, right? And that's why I, it will be I minus minus. Yeah, so you can see that 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 till here it is done, right? Now somehow we don't want to rewrite again for internally. Till 12 it is done. Now this somehow we have to shift the variables so that the rest of the things are taken care by the this logic itself. So what can we do? Right now, what is my I and what is my j? You can see that as soon as a value is printed, right, then like I is incremented, j is incremented. So what we do is that let's write before breaking, let's write something. So let's say what arr ij is equal to what v whatever. So we'll see that where it is printing till 12 it is there, and it is printing 13, which means that again it has come to 0 0. Again it has come to 0 0, but which means that it has again come to here. But next time I, it's like my outer square is done, so I have to start from place where 13 is there. So this inner square I have to work, which means that instead of here I have to come here. From here to come here, what I have to do? I have to increase I and increase j also. So when 4 to 1, when this thing is happening, then what we have to do is that we have to do I plus plus. Okay, we have to do j plus plus. Okay, and then one more thing we have to do. See, limit also we have to change. Limit was earlier what? Limit was earlier this whole thing minus 1. Okay, but now two items are already done. So from the this bar and this bar is done. So you can see that edges, like edge length is reduced by 2, and that's why this limit will be also reduced by 2. Okay, so that is fine. Now this is fine, it looks like it will work, but the problem is that I am again here and it will still start going internally. But what is the terminating condition? This will go in infinite loop, right? What is the condition on which it will terminate? In order to see that termination thing, what we have to do is that instead of while true, somehow we have to exactly see that where should it end. So you can have a condition or on limit also, that if limit becomes so limit will become, if limit becomes 0, then you quit or something like this. So while limit is greater than 0, okay, then you keep on printing. You can do something like this. So you can see that this is 12, after 12 13 14 15 16 it is done. Yeah, this is working fine, but actually there is a problem. You try to do this for 5, and you can see that till 24 it is printing, and for 25 the middle element, the center of thing is not printed. That is because at that point of time like one edge length and 1 minus 1 is 0. So basically my limit has become 0, and that's why it will not run. Let's try it for greater than equal to 0. Yeah, so it goes in infinite loop. So because yeah, so you see that you can handle that situation, that yeah, the first time when limit is 0 and then it is printed, then you can update some flag. But actually turns out there is a easier way. Why not? Actually we are counting the elements printed like in each direction. Why not have a global count? And if we have a global count, then we know that whatever is n square elements will be printed. As soon as my n square count is done, then I will exit. Yeah, so that will be much easier, right? So why not have, apart from count, we also have a let something like total count, right? This will also start at 0. Whenever count is increasing, total count is also increasing, but this thing is never reset. Count is reset, but this thing is never reset. And this will be then used here, that if this thing is less than n square, whatever n is passed, if it is n square, so 4 is passed, until the time total count is less than 16, then I keep on doing that. I keep on doing that. As soon as it becomes total count is has become 16, equal to 16, then I know that everything must be printed, and that's why I don't need to worry much about that, right? And then I'll see that now it is working for 25 also, 5 square also, right? Yeah, so we are in good shape. We're in good shape. Just a few things we have to do. We have to convert it to string. That is first thing. Secondly, this padding, whatever, like this one should be 0 1 or something like that, right? That also we have to do. Okay. So yeah. So why not do something like this? Why not do something like this? So when we are adding v, rather than adding v number, let's add a string v, and then we can do a padding, right? Pad start, and then we can say that you can have a padding of 2, and that will be separated with padded with 0. Okay, if we do this, then we can see that this is working fine. Yeah, but the problem is that again, if this 2 is not fixed, right? Sometimes this whole pad length kill will be 3, sometimes it will be 1 if it only till is 1 through 9. So this has to be dynamic, right? This has to be dynamic. This number has to be dynamic. So this number is some variable padding, and let's define that variable somewhere here, and let's say that that padding is basically what we have to see, that if a string, if from n square, so n square is like 6, n into n 16, right? 16, if 16 would have been a string, then what would be its length? Whatever will be its length. So 2, then padding is 2. If it would have been 3, then 3 square is 9. 9 is string 9, length is 1. If it would be 10, then 10 square 100, then 100 length will be. So automatically this padding will now work, right? So right now it will work for this, but it will also work for something like, let's say this. So you can see that here it is padding is 1, here it padding is 2. Yeah, so that is fine. So now we are almost in good shape. Just that now this is an array of strings. We have to return a whole string which should be in this format, right? So that our test cases can pass, and that is the requirement of the question, right? So for that, what we can do is that while we are creating in the end, while we are printing, let's now start creating a string and return that string from here. Okay, so let's have a let's answer is the final thing which we are going to return, right? So so let's do something like this. uh, if this is empty string, then I can basically do something like this, that I can concatenate answer. I can concatenate it with arri dot join and one space. So you can see that there will be one space, and then whatever the answer, that will be returned. Okay, now let's see. So you see the problem is that there has to be a new line right here after every so this whole thing is what the one row is joined with a string, but then you have to print a new line, right? So you can print a new line like this. That should be fine. So now it is working fine, but you can see that extra space is coming at the beginning also, like the first thing. So actually it should be something like this, that for the first time it should be pretty simple. Let's directly take the 0 1, right? From the first one I should put slash n, and then you can see that it is working fine. Okay, so yeah, so now it should be fine. So now I am getting a proper string, right? Now looks like it is working fine. Okay, but let's test that. Let's see that const a is equal to this thing. So this thing is like what I'm getting, and let's say const b is equal to what I expect it to be. What I expect it to be, I expect it to be this thing. You can understand, right? A answer 4, if you print only answer 4, if you print, then you see that we are getting the same thing, right? So this is what the expectation is there. If a and answer 4 both are equal, which means that our job is done, and you can see that it is true. And you can understand that anywhere, even if you print, like let's say have an enter here, like then it starts with a new line, not with 0, then it will not match, right? If this is there, and let's say here something new line is there, then it will not match. If you have any extra space anywhere, let's say here space, then also it will not match. So you can understand that it has to be perfectly as per the requirement, and then it will perfectly match. So so we showed that at least it works for our one case. Let's test it for the whole test case. So this link I'll put in the description of the YouTube video right now. Just I'll copy paste and try to run this whole test case. This whole test case is basically running for 4, 5 and 10. If all these values are correct, then you can assume that you have implemented a correct solution. So you can also test for this. So let's run this, and you can see that there is no assertion error, which means that our implementation is correct. Okay, so that will be all for this video. In the next video we are going to talk about a new interesting problem.